I live in Asia, and a few months ago I bought my dream house, right in the capital city. The deal was too good to be true. The previous owners were family friends who had moved abroad 3 years ago. They needed cash fast, so I swooped in and got it for steal. But it wasn't perfect. The house was a fixer-upper. The front door, secured with nothing but a padlock. No gate. Anyone could just stroll in. And on the very first day I moved in, I walked out to the garage and found a motorcycle parked inside, just sitting there like it belonged to the house. I dragged it onto the street and got a gate installed the same day. That evening, some guy came pounding on my new gate, furious. He stood there for 15 minutes, huffing and puffing, before storming off with his bike. I remember watching him from my window and thinking, great, this is the neighborhood I just moved into. Still, things calmed down after I put up a big no parking sign. One night, while taking a shower, I noticed something strange. My water pressure was suddenly weak. But then I heard a loud humming, the sound of my neighbor's water pump kicking on. Now, this neighbor wasn't just anyone. He was an old, bitter man who lived in the 3-story house next to mine. He kept the ground floor for himself and rented out the upper floors. My friends, the old owners of my house, had warned me about him. He was furious when he found out they were selling the property. Apparently, he'd gotten a little too comfortable with it being abandoned. So, I tested a theory. When his pump turned off, I turned on my taps again, and like magic, the water pressure returned. My stomach sank. Was this guy stealing my water? The more I thought about it, the more it added up. My friend had mentioned weirdly high water bills over the years, but they assumed it was just leaks. No, this man had probably been siphoning water from my pipe for years, completely free. And here I was, unknowingly footing the bill for his tenants' showers, laundry, dishes, everything. Now, let me be clear. Water in my country is cheap. My bill is maybe $5 a month, even with 3 dogs, washing my car every week, and water in my garden. So it wasn't the money. It was the audacity, the entitlement, the smugness of some old man who thought, I deserve this. He won't notice. What's he gonna do? That thought made my blood boil. I couldn't let it slide. I considered confronting him. I considered reporting him. But then I realized, why go through all that when I had a much simpler weapon? See, his pump only worked if water flowed into it from my pipes. So what if I cut the water supply right when his pump was running? On Monday, around midnight, I heard the familiar whir of his pump. I quietly walked outside, twisted a valve on my main supply, and shut it off. Now, here's the thing about these pumps. They are designed to run until the water tank on the roof is full. If no water comes in, the pump keeps running endlessly. That means heat, pressure, and stress. And if you know anything about old wiring, you know what comes next. At 3 a.m, I woke to shouting, lights flicking on next door, doors slamming, his tenants yelling at him in the courtyard. From my window, I piece it together. His pump had fried the electrical wiring in his entire house. No water, no power. The tenants were furious. And here's the kicker. In my country, landlords are legally required to provide both water and electricity. You cut those off, intentionally or not, and you're liable. The next day, one tenant packed up and left. The other filed a police complaint. And suddenly, this old man was staring down fines, angry tenants, refunding deposits, and repair costs he couldn't afford. A few days later, he shuffled over to my gate. His face was blank, but I could see the storm brewing behind his eyes. "Did you turn off your water?" he asked. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Yeah, I had a leak in my tank. Plumber fixed it the next day." His lips tightened. His jaw flexed. He just muttered, "Oh, okay," and walked away. But the silence spoke louder than any shouting match ever could. He knew I knew, and he knew there was nothing, absolutely nothing, he could do about it. The police fined him $500. In my country, that's months of income for a retired mechanic like him. Both his tenants left. His only source of money, gone. And because his house wiring was ancient, the repairs would cost even more. Too much for him to handle. So now, His moving out, packing up his bags to live with his daughter because he can't afford to stay. And me? I called in a plumber to cut every single unnecessary pipe leaving my property. No one's ever siphoning off me again. All it took was a twist of a valve. One tiny flick of my wrist, and the man who thought he could steal from me without consequence lost his home, his tenants, and his pride. Some people learn the hard way, and this time karma came through my hands. You know, it's not about the money. It's about respect. Entitlement has a way of eating people alive. And if you think you can take from others without paying the price, sooner or later, life proves you wrong. So what do you think? Was my revenge justified? Have you ever caught a neighbor stealing from you? Drop your story in the comments. And if this tale of payback gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around, because I've got more stories that prove justice is sweeter when it's served cold.